What's up, everybody, and welcome to Adventures in Guitarland. Now, this is a new YouTube channel where we're going to teach you how to play guitar. There's a ton of those out there, and I love them all. However, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do it by making you play a role-playing game. That's right, you're going to create a character, you're going to practice what we show you, hone those skills, level up that character, beat bosses, and run through a storyline that is going to take you from a guitar zero to a guitar hero in the role-playing game. But as you do that, you're going to become a much better guitar player. Now, this is geared currently toward people who have never played guitar before, but we are going to have some more techniques, videos, and stuff like that coming out at later times that are for more intermediate players. Eventually, also some advanced players, and maybe if this actually gets some decent subscriptions and stuff, maybe I can get some of those other guitar YouTubers and instructors over here to start teaching some techniques that I can't do. That being said, there's also going to be a community on Facebook where you can join like-minded people who are also going through the same adventure as you and talk about what you're having trouble with, how you got around, having to use your pinky on that G chord and were able to use your ring finger, and how that helped you, and maybe you'll be able to help somebody else out. That's what I want. I want this to be a community of people who are getting together, having fun, and learning how to play guitar. Now, if you're not comfortable with playing a role-playing game or doing that portion of this, that's fine. That being said, this isn't an interactive one, at least not yet, where you're going to be sitting down at a table and playing a role-playing game. No, it's just here on the screen between me and you with nobody else. So you don't have to join the Facebook group. You don't even have to do the role-playing stuff. You can just take the video lessons and go with it from there. You'll still learn stuff, but it's not quite as fun. But you're going to need some things in order to get started. What you're going to need, first of all, internet access, which I'm assuming you already have since you're probably watching me on the internet, unless this is eons from now and they found some kind of a disc that had me on it, which is kind of creepy to think about, but could happen. Nonetheless, you're probably watching me on the internet, so check that off. 2, you need access to a guitar. It doesn't matter what kind of guitar it is yet, even if you want to play heavy metal, you can play it on this to begin with. I did. I started out on a nylon string classical. My father got me, even though I was a hard rock, punk, and metal guy. And I learned some of the songs on that. And by showing that interest to my dad when I was 11 years old and continuing with it and learning, he eventually went, okay, I can make a little more of an investment and get him an electric guitar. So bear with it. Whatever you have is what you have. You can still learn on it and be very accomplished and be very good. And if you are doing something like you're, a child, or you're just not quite there financially yet to go out and spend money on a guitar or an electric guitar and amp, give it time. You can still learn here. Most importantly, you need the desire to learn. And with that, you also need to be able to put some time aside to practice, because that's how you're going to learn. But you need to want to learn. If you don't want to learn guitar, you really probably shouldn't be here. And I appreciate you watching the video, but you can take a hike now, because that's what we're here about. We're here about learning how to play guitar. So we're going to get into some basics of this guitar. I'm actually recording 2 videos today, so if you see 2 videos with the same beard cut and same shirt, it's because I'm also going to do a chord video later. But right now, we're going to talk about the parts of a guitar and what they are, as well as how the guitar is tuned. So stick around for that. Right now, though, while we have a chance in between these segments, before I hit a segue, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button, as well as the bell, so you can get notified when that chord video or any subsequent videos come out. That way you can get a head start and jump right into advancing your character. Without any further ado, let's look at the different types of guitars. So here I have an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. The acoustic is acoustic. You can hear it. You don't need to plug it in. It's got that sound hole in it that lets it reverberate, and it sounds glorious. An electric guitar, on the other hand, you can hear it because there's still strings vibrating, but it's not nearly as loud. This is also tuned really differently right now. That is because this has these metal things here, which are pickups. These are actually the shields over the pickups. Pickups are magnets that are wound with copper wire that pick up the vibration from the string and send that signal through a cable to an amplifier, and the speakers in the amplifier push out the actual sound. That is why you won't really hear this right now. That's the main difference between this guitar and this guitar. So everything else they pretty much have in common for the most part. We'll cover the electric guitar a little bit more in depth in a later video. I really miss playing this. I want to play it right now. The reason we're sticking with the acoustic right now is because I started out on an acoustic, as I said earlier, and I want to show you that you can start out on an acoustic too. And as I think that a lot of people probably are, most people start out on acoustic, let's be honest. And there are some pluses and minuses to it. Some people say, oh, you should always start on acoustic. Some say, no, you should start on electric because it's easier to press down. You should just start. That's the key. You shouldn't tie yourself into any side. You should just start. So we're going to start with the acoustic. Now, what is the different parts of an acoustic? Well, you have the headstock. Sorry, I have a tuner up there. We'll get to that in a minute. You have the headstock. That is this portion up here. So you have the headstock of the guitar. These are your tuners, your tuning keys, your pegs. Those hold the strings. Those strings travel the length of the guitar, but the first thing they contact is this little white piece right here. That is called the nut. The nut holds the strings off of the rest of the neck, which is what this right here is. This whole thing is called the neck. However, this front portion is referred to as the fretboard because it's typically a different type of wood, typically a rosewood, sometimes maple if you're playing like a Strat or something like that. Ebony is another wood that's frequently used for fretboards. The reason it's called the fretboard is because it's the board, but it has these little metal things going across it. Those are called your frets. Now those frets, depending on where they are, raise and lower the pitch of what you're playing. So that's why it's called a fretboard, because it holds your frets. You also have position markers. Now this doesn't show you the position markers on the front with the exception of this little thing right here on the 12th fret. However, like every guitar, there are little dots right here. So there's 2 dots for the 12th, that's my 9th, my 7th. You can't see my 5th because it's off screen, but those are there to show you where you are on the guitar. So you know that I'm playing the 3rd fret right now because there's a dot, and the next single dot up is the 5th fret. In between those 2 dots is the 4th. It's to help you. And there are guitar players who've been playing for decades who play live who still use those when they're looking away and they're looking back real quick. They still use them. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn how to play without them, but they're there in case you need them. So there's position markers. The rest of this is called the body. Now with an acoustic guitar, you have the sound hole right here. That little design that goes around it's called a rosette. Some people call it a rosette. Obviously your strings. This is called the bridge. This little white piece here is the saddle. It is basically the nut for the bridge. It holds the strings off of the bridge and off of the fretboard. Okay, so it's the same thing as the nut, just on the bottom, on the body of the guitar. Again, saddle, bridge pegs for this one because it's just steel string that pegs the actual strings in. Classical guitars, the strings will go through the bridge and get tied up down here. So there's your basics of this. Again, the big difference, this has a sound hole. That electric back there has pickups. Why is that important? Because you need to know what you're talking about. If somebody says, man, I can't hear anything when you play on the 5th fret. What does that mean? Well, that means that when you're playing here, they can't hear anything. Now, there might be a reason for that. It's because I wasn't pushing my finger down, but there might be a different, more mechanical reason that's not tied to you, the player. So that's just something to understand. Now, when we start talking about frets and fret positions, you need to understand that as I'm teaching you chords or scales or anything like that, we're going to have designations for our fingers and our hands. So for our hand, for this video and the next one, we're going to call it index, middle, ring, pinky, thumb. Over here, well, when we get to the classical portion, we'll start talking about what that is. But right now, index, middle, ring, pinky. Those are the ones you really need to worry about. If you're looking at tab and it's showing you how to play it, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's almost always the same. On your strings, how are we tuned? So first of all, you need to get a guitar tuner. It doesn't have to be one like this that clips onto the headstock, although I highly recommend them because they're typically pretty darn accurate and they're really easy to use. This actually has a built-in tuner into it on the side, but it's not as accurate as that one is. You can download an app to begin with. A lot of them are free. That will let you tune your guitar. Now, the way a guitar is tuned is it is tuned. You know, I'm going to go ahead and tune up while I'm doing it. I'm pretty sure I'm still in tune, but it's tuned E, yep, A, D, G, B, E. And I could tell just by hearing I was tuned up, but I still went ahead and looked over just in case my ear's a little off today. It's not bad to have that. So again, that's E, A, D, G, B, and E. Yes, E and E on each side. That'll come into play when you're starting to look at these. Now you'll hear people call this the low E and the high E. That's how I refer to them, because there's the only strings that repeat. Low, high, that's pitch. Some people will call this the sixth string and this the first string. I like low E, high E, and then I can just name everything else in between. When you're talking about frets, open is like that. Your left hand isn't doing anything, okay? If I said play your low E on the first fret, I'm wanting you to take your finger and put it right behind that metal part, right behind it. Push down with the least amount of force needed to make a clean sound. So, right there. Not there, because I pushed all the way down to the board and you can hear that it changed the pitch. Right there. The least amount of force needed. It's not as much as you think it is. That's the first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, all the way up. That'll stay the same. For you beginners out there, people who are just starting from scratch, we're only going to worry about open through the 12th fret. We're not even going to explore the rest of it. And the reason for that is this is the octave. This is an E. This is an E. This is when it starts all over again. Okay? So we're just going to ignore that for right now and just play down here and worry about this top part of the neck. It's often overlooked, but is actually, honestly, the more versatile portion of the neck. So, now that you know what we do here at Adventures in Guitarland and what a guitar is, I hope you stick around and, when it comes out, click on the next video and we're going to start talking about chords. And what that is your starting adventure gear. So until then, keep on your adventure and I'll see you in Guitarland. Keep checking back because we're going to have more videos on character creation, the different classes and things like that.